from Bangladesh, and I was there for a whole night seminar, and I'm giving a talk like this. I'm talking like this. It's normal. And those guys, they can't talk like this. They think if you talk like this, no one's going to listen to you. No one takes you serious. They think this guy ain't got a voice. This guy, he don't even have any roti or bath in his stomach. This guy can't speak. So therefore you got to say, और मैंने बताया था कि अगर वो नहीं मानेगा. Or like in Bengali, they might say, আমি আপনার কাছে এইটা বলছি. And it's like the guys, his eyes are wide open, his mouth, he's almost going to crack the sky open. He's the whole ocean, if he came in front of me, he'd just drink it in one gulp. The guy's going to show that he is Mr. Universe and he's going to kill anyone coming in front of him. And all he's talking about is Iman or something. Talking about simple thing. It just don't make sense. And I sat there and I said to these guys, I said, why do you have to speak like that? They go, well, it's our culture. It's the way it is. If you don't speak like that, you're not taken seriously. So I got on and I just spoke like this. I thought, nonsense. I'm not going to get all hyped up and get you hyped up and say, Kafir! Right? And if you don't say Kafir like that, I heard it on YouTube the other day, right? The guy saying, no, these guys are kafir, and they all said, yeah, they said, Nare takbir, Allahu Akbar, right? They're saying that, and then the guy had to go at them. He said, Zor se bolo. He said, say even louder, kafir, and they all said it louder. He said, he said, because you guys are not saying kafir loudly, that's why they've become so big. Come on, man. I tell you, you think, la ilaha illallah, what are these guys made of? And you know what? Back home, I'll be honest with you, a lot of this trouble has come not because it's all started here. It started back home. And you can get caught up easily with all of this hyped up talk and, groupie kind of talk. And they, I have to say honestly, and I'm going to be very straight to the point, because Alhamdulillah, I was born in this country. And Allah gave me a British passport when I was born. So, I go to some of these masjids and I tell them, I want to British fast food. British fast food. I tell him straight on the mimbar. I said, Alhamdulillah, let's give him British fast food. You can't tell me what to do and what to say. So what I used to see when I was young in this country, this is up north, in the Midlands. I see in this country is every 5 years the imam used to change. And you're growing up. You go with your dad when you're about 6, 7, and then you go with your dad later on with 12, and then you go with 18, 19. You're always seeing that the imams are changing every 5 years, 3 years, they're always changing. And you wonder why, and then you get the full story later on because you start getting into and finding out. What these guys have done, and this is a lot of mosques in the 70s have done this, a lot of mosques in the 80s have done this, in the 90s it started to die out a bit, and I think in the zeros it's really dying out, but up north it's still strong. What they do is, the committee people, they're of a certain mentality. They're of a certain group. And they will only employ an imam of their own group. And when he comes, they're going to feed things in his ears. And they're going to tell him, and he's going to come as well to try and keep them happy. Because the more happy he keeps them, the longer he stays in that mosque. And the bigger the notes get when they come in his pocket. And I've seen it with my own eyes. Right? So what he'll do is, he'll get on the minbar. Now come on, people are dying, people are dying with all sorts of issues. There's druggies dying, there's people without iman dying, there's people that have lack of taqwa, there's schools that people are, committing fornication and all sorts of things that are going on. But he won't talk about any of that. He probably does it, whether he knows or not. He's going to talk about groupings. He's going to talk about, Wahhabi ka bacha, Wahhabi. And the other guy on the other end of the street, he's got a mosque on the opposite, the opposite of this, and he's going to start saying, this Brelvik or whatever, and then they're both basically just doing bayans and lectures just to hype up their crowds. And this is not one city I'm talking about, this is several cities. Several cities across the country have been affected by this. And what the committee members do is they tell him, you better carry on talking about this, or you don't talk about alcohol. They've got business of alcohol. They say, don't talk about alcohol. So the guy don't talk about alcohol for 5 years. They tell him, you better talk about parents' rights, parents' rights. So every time you come, you always hear parents' rights. And as a kid, I used to wonder, I thought, as children, we don't have any rights. It's almost like I discovered Islam when I went to madrasa. I thought, wow, I've got some rights in this world, la ilaha illallah, I never knew. Because the Imam would never talk about it. But you know what? Why he changes after 5 years is, after 5 years, he gets his passport. And we all know the story. He will give one bayan that is against alcohol, or he's going to say, look, I've had enough of this. You guys can't tell me what to say. Right? They say, yeah, get out of here. He's gone. They'll import a new one. Same thing, they'll tell him 5 years, they know they've got him, and they'll make him say whatever they want. And look, over the last 30 years, this has created a lot of things in our minds which we didn't necessarily have to have. Now, this is from Indo-Pak, right? There's other places of the world, like for example, if you had a Salafi type of mind, they would have certain things in their mind too. They're not going to allow, an Indo-Pak guy just to come sit here and say whatever he wants. They will employ according to what they want. And let's say the guy's doing the opposite thing. He'll come there, he'll say this is bid'ah, that's bid'ah, that's shirk, bid'ah, shirk. All of you shirk, bid'ah. I'm the only one who's Muslim here, right? So I want you